two of the most expensive people, two of the most expensive streamers, instead of just trying to build like a true grassroots community with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of like low mid-tier streamers, and giving all those people a chance to develop and become the next Ninja or the next Shroud. They just wanted to basically cut off the head and hope that it regrew a body, and we all know how that worked out.
They tried a lot though too. That's the crazy thing. Is like
the people behind it, like Lennox and like those people are all really, really smart, intelligent, professional individuals who they could have taken Mixer very far, but whoever made the call, like, we need to try to pay to win and buy Ninja and Shroud or whatever, like that was the pile of bricks that broke the camel's back.
Yeah, I'm besides myself on that. I feel like if you were gonna bring a bunch of streamers on, I feel like they did it in a wrong way. They would have, because they did it one after another, and it was like over a certain amount of time, where it's like even if everyone that came to the platform and they were watching Ninja, like, they didn't have any other big streamers to go to, and then those streamers didn't necessarily, like, because it's usually like a trickle down effect of like big streamers host little streamers, and when you only have one big streamer or one or two big streamers on your channel, and you're not getting the host, you're not getting it anywhere else.
Yeah, you're not passing that viewership around to the community to help it develop.
Right. So like, I feel like if they were gonna bring people on, they would have needed to bring like a lot of people on, like hit like a big wave.
Hundreds of lower mid-tier streamers, and like maybe get one like higher tier, someone who's not quite a Ninja, but somebody who's getting, 15, 20,000 concurrent viewers type deal.
Someone with like more of like a cult following.
Exactly. Like a dedicated fan base that will hop around the community and grow the views. So, and we were doing a lot of cool stuff with Mixer, with Golden Tea getting featured on the front page every live event. It was a shame, honestly. I had really big hopes for Mixer and thought it was a great platform to start building content on.
Alright, we're gonna go ahead, get this ball rolling. Welcome. I'm gonna go ahead and turn down the music so you guys can hear everything going on. Welcome. It is your boy Refresh. We're back at it again with another episode of the LFTG Podcast. But two things are happening. We have a very special guest, and we are now on YouTube. Our special guest, Andy, is with us today on this beautiful, beautiful evening. If you guys notice, we will not have any timer because we always give our guests enough time to talk. Andy, your Twitter is on top of the layout. So go ahead and shout out any of your social medias, and let's do a little bit of a tell us about yourself. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so I've been in esports for well over a decade at this point. Started out as a aspiring professional Halo player. Was able to make it into the semi-professional bracket in Halo 3, and started receiving higher level seeds in the top 24, the top 16, which would be basically the professional bracket at the very end of Halo 3 and into Halo Reach. So that was kind of like my my core starting in esports. Came from traditional sports. Was a baseball player, and I loved the competition there. But at a certain point, I just felt Halo was so much more competitive, and I made the jump over. Once Halo was taken off the MLG circuit, I thought that I could become a StarCraft 2 professional, and I learned that pretty much since I didn't live in South Korea and had been playing since I was 10 or 11 years old, that I had no chance. Even though it's an awesome game, I love StarCraft 2. I think it's one of the hardest games ever made, especially competitive. The competitive scene for StarCraft is, I believe, probably the most competitive, highest skill level. Some of those guys have 500 actions a minute, and that's just out of this world. So then I went and I played Hearthstone, and I was able to place into some professional tournaments in Hearthstone. And it got to a point where I actually moved out to Las Vegas with the co-host Mohawk Mike here to work with a company at the time called Pro Gaming League. And it kind of just came down to me having to make a decision of pursuing my career in esports versus pursuing a career in being a player for various games and titles. And I had also spent the past several years hauling Xboxes and monitors, working for free at events just for a flight, or in a hotel, sometimes having to buy my own food if I even got food at all. And just it was a different industry 10-15 years ago. There's a lot more opportunities now, but when I came into it, the only way you got in is basically by starting off with manual labor, working your way from setup to staging, from staging to production. Originally my dream was to be a commentator, caster for various games, just being in front of the camera. And I eventually learned that I really enjoyed directing and producing live content significantly more. I've done a lot of in the past year, I've directed shows that had Dave Mass speaking spots on it, along with like people like Matthew McConaughey, and just really some high level, kind of recorded spots from people that when I was younger would have looked up to growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's kind of, I guess, the quick, short and dirty version. I guess not so short of and I'm currently I serve as the director of esports for a company called Incredible Technologies. They make a game called Golden Tee Golf. It's the most successful pay-to-play arcade game in history. They did develop one of the first esports ecosystems in the late 80s, early 90s for paid tournaments, paid competitions with cash prize pools. So they were really ahead of the game when building out these communities, and it's just interesting to see. Like my average player in the Golden Tee community is probably like mid 30s, early 40s, and they're a great group of guys. And it's just it's interesting to see their passion for the title. As they continue to play the game.
Yeah, you and I probably crossed paths at some point, especially in the MLG days, because I used to go, I was pretty young, so I used to go mostly as a spectator, and I would play in a lot of the free-for-alls. Even in Halo 3, I started out in Halo 2, so we probably crossed paths at some point.
Oh man, if you were in free-for-alls, you definitely know some of my teammates, because I had some teammates that were free-for-all gods. I never teamed with him, but I played games. He was my local Mickwin.
Yeah.
Top Ducky I teamed with Top Ducky for years. Dream Crusher is another free for all.
Yeah.
I teamed with NK Devon.
Okay.
So just I personally I'm more of a support player back in the day. But I played with a lot of strong free for all guys on my teams throughout the years.
Yeah, I competed all the way throughout Halo 5.
Oh wow!
I actually really enjoyed that game. I was super sad to see it end in the fall of 2018.
Yeah. How'd you feel about Halo 4? To play past Halo 4, I feel like you almost had to be a little bit of a glutton for punishment, right?
4 was okay on LAN. It was awful online.
All Halo is supposed to be different on LAN than line, but yeah.
I actually felt the same way about Reach. I liked Reach, but I most of my hours on Reach and 4 were on LAN. I had more hours on LAN than I did online. I was in high school at the time, so we had formed high school teams in our district, and we would get together at my mom's house every Friday instead of going to the football games. And we would play. So I had more hours on LAN than I ever did online.
Absolutely, yeah. Once they took Bloom and Sprint out of Reach, it became one of the best Halo games that I think they've ever made.
Yeah, but it just took too long, man. V8, MLG V8.
I mean, but see, at the end of the day, like, it's not like, this isn't Bungie's fault, though. Like, this is Activision. Activision kind of created this Call of Duty-esque ecosystem at the end of Bungie's tenure with Halo. So, like, the reason that it stayed in so long, was because Activision was trying to filter over players, and it's a smart business move. You can't blame them for that, and I think to a certain extent, in the long run, it worked. But yeah, I'm a little bit of a Bungie purist, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I have a hard time being a Bungie purist. I feel like 343 took real good care of us during Halo 5, and we didn't.
That's true. I think there was definitely a redemption arc after the Master Chief series and Master Chief Collection, and Halo 4. There was definitely a good redemption arc. I think it's only going to get better from here. So it's not, I just want. There was just this feeling that I used to get when I would fire up the original Halos, and like I wouldn't get nervous, but I kind of would, but in a good excited way. And like when I would, get a nasty overkill or something, like those were moments that really. But one of my favorite moments was after they took Bloom and Sprint out. I was playing a game to make it out versus Demon D.
Okay.
Who had not played Halo Reach.
Yeah.
Had not really played towards the end of Halo 3.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment that sticks out on my mind is that I killed Break, and Break had left me one shot, and Demon D came in and I 5-shotted him and I screamed out his name, and I went 17-7 that game. We ended up losing the series.
But that game.
That game was me. Yeah, so it was cool. It was a cool experience, man. Halo was a great time. I put so much time, effort, and energy into that community, and they made so many great friends that have lasted through the years.
Yeah, I mean,
I was gonna say what's interesting about that too is, like, I can kind of jump in a little bit here because Andy, that's one of those things that we personally really bonded over as well. So like you mentioned earlier during the intro, like you previously had, like, you were to the point of, like, you wanted to be a pro and you were competing in MLG, you were going live on the circuit, and then like once Halo kind of fell off the MLG circuit, kind of like fell from grace a little bit as far as like being this big competitive game. I remember like we had met each other many times. We worked at many different events, but specifically one of the ones that I kind of want you to go back and relive a little bit was Gamers for Giving, I believe 2014, 2015. That was an event where we were basically 343 had reached out to us. They're like, hey, Gamers for Giving has always been very Halo centric. We want to do an HCS tour stop there. That was the first time that we worked together in an official capacity. And we had 8 dudes all crammed into one hotel room. We slept on the floor because there was no budget. It was a volunteer event. So to go from that to the point where, like you mentioned, like us together, when we moved out to Las Vegas, we worked hand in hand along with everybody else that was on that team to build the first purpose-built esports facility in Las Vegas. It was over 15,000 square feet, literally completely gutted, gray space to esports facility. And our first event was actually an event for the Halo Championship Series. Where in your mind, as far as like even just a professional working in esports, but even just a fan of the Halo series, do you go from traveling to Michigan to sleep on a floor to work for free to hosting one of the biggest Halo events, on the circuit?
So for me personally, it really came down to willingness to fill other roles for what's needed. What was interesting about that event was like I had I believe that you had spared a camera and a tripod for me, and I was going around interviewing players, basically dressed up in a suit with like a pinstripe fitted hat on, just going around talking to all the different players. And it was the first time that I had ever had the opportunity to take the mic over. And what was interesting about that event was shortly after they decided they were doing a Hearthstone event, and I actually got pulled in to do the commentary for the Hearthstone event at that event as well. And what was really cool was the person who was kind of working in our capacity as like our boss, our leader, what have you at the time. He ended up coaching one of the teams while I coached another team while they were both playing to make it out of the open bracket. And my buddy had played on the one team, and I just kind of jumped in to coach them for, just to help them try to make it out. And when my boss had seen this, he was like, he basically just inserted himself and started coaching the other team, and it was a crazy experience, and it was awesome though. But up until that event, all I had done is, at Evo, I hauled merchandise, clothing, t-shirts, boxes. I was literally working like 17, 18 hours straight.
Oh yeah.
And like just doing the most insane stuff. And that's what eventually led to getting an opportunity to be able to work for one of these companies. Once I had a resume that showed, oh, you've done setup here, you've ran the merchandise booth here, you've run some broadcast here, you've run some, and it's funny too, because you're talking about that event. That was Valle was at that event, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He was one of the people sleeping on the floor, and Valle is like one of the
Street Fighter legend.
Street Fighter legends, and he was there right with us, along with Jimmy Wynn, who's co-owner with Valle on all the cool esports. That's esports arena, right?
Their organization is called Level Up, but they work with esports arena in that capacity. Yeah.
So these part of it is just being around people who have the passion to do whatever it takes in esports, to grow their portfolio, their resume, to become more sound. And at the end of the day, what it really comes down to is network. The more people you meet at events, the more value you can kind of demonstrate, or knowledge, or expertise. The more you do that at conventions, and the more you network, the more opportunities are going to show up. And I pretty much just put my nose to the grindstone along with you, Mikey, for years and years before we were ever offered a salary. And our salary was not, we're not talking six figures or near six figures. We're talking like anyway. So, just a lot of hard work and meeting the right people. And, we were all successful together because we refused to let the events fail, and knowing that we could rely on each other almost as brothers, to stand guard and make sure X, Y, and Z didn't fail. And for that reason, we never really failed clients. We never failed events, and we continued to just continue climbing the ladder.
Yeah, and I think one of the crazy things too is like, you talked about like just having that passion, and like you put your head down, you just kind of push forward, you slog forward. And we originally, we were, you used to do like your own personal streaming, and then like once you kind of like made that change to like, I want to work more behind the scenes, and I want to give people more opportunities like this. Yep. You yourself like created more opportunities and put yourself in a position to not only carry yourself forward, but all those other people that kind of came along for the ride. And that's, one of the next things I want to talk about is like somebody who literally went from, streaming in their bedroom to like a handful of viewers to the point that like you've done content creation for some of the biggest names, not just like biggest AAA titles. Like you mentioned, like Hearthstone, we've done events for Nintendo, Microsoft, Blizzard, like all these huge companies, but also creating content for an audience that large. How does your mindset change from, oh, I'm going to post this video on YouTube and hope it gets views, to knowing that I'm handling something that has millions of potential views and catering to that audience before even pressing the go live button?
Yeah. I mean, I think you're probably being a little friendly saying I had handfuls of viewers. I think I probably had like one or two fingers worth of viewers, but at the end of the day, it all just comes down to passion. Like every time I would start my stream, I would have I had a logo that was like a tipped over sideways television, and it would have a countdown, and it would play like an intro video that had me playing like multiple games, from role-playing games to League of Legends to Hearthstone to shooting games, etc. And just like even knowing that like I'm gonna have two viewers at the end of the day, but I just want I just want content to be better, because at the end of the day, when I'm entertained, when I'm watching streams, I think that service personally is one of the most valuable things in this world, is like being entertained and enjoying yourself and your time, and really just kind of like looking at that being the core purpose to my career, and then applying that to the bigger streams. With any of the bigger streams, having certain figureheads of the community, having some sort of unique aspect to your event, whether it be like a small show match of a game mode, or a hype show match, or it could be literally a pro versus Joe style, where you bring in a random viewer, whatever it could be. Just applying kind of that ideal of trying to just deliver better, solid content to people. And there's definitely a little bit of a stigma between the the television broadcast industry and our industry. And I will say that I've seen those guys step into our realm and fail horribly. I've seen guys from my realm step into their world and fail horribly. And I think a lot of it just comes down to case by case, person by person, and making sure that you go the extra steps. That if there's really common fail points in every event, and if you just isolate those, and make sure that you have a good team managing each of those elements, then you should be safe at the end of the day.
Well, I want to keep on that subject, but I want to pry a little bit more, just because like I personally know like your experience and your background, like you've done things with, both in the esports realm and not in the esports realm. So I'd like to hear a little bit more, like for instance, like Team Oxygen, which is like huge major player in Rainbow Six. They have a lot of other, teams and players that compete in different things, but then also too, like even outside of the esports realm, like I know that you do stuff with Blasphemous HD. That's somebody that you're creating content that is going to get hundreds, thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if millions of views.
Millions, yeah. That's all kind of like, I do a lot of local film stuff. I'm co-owner of a company called Candid Correct. And, we do a lot of grassroots style, entertainment style content. We work directly with Team Oxygen for all of their Rainbow Six Siege content for the past year, basically. I'll be there actually next Thursday, Friday, doing a shoot for them. And Blasphemous HD is really just he's an interesting character. Not always so politically correct, but he's definitely humorous and entertaining. Millions and millions of subscribers. This is a guy whose channel is getting 20 million plus views a month. And it's just interesting to see just how engaged his audience truly is, and what we can do to deliver more, to really deliver stuff that they didn't know they wanted. Because at the end of the day, what built his channel was doing a lot of reaction style content, humor, watching stuff like Family Guy and riffing on the scenes. And he has a cooking show now. There's actually a cops style show where I am his I guess co-detective, where my name is Detective Harry Sprinkles. So that gives you a little idea of the tone. But yeah, it's just cool seeing that audience like adapt and learn to ingesting a new form of content. And I think that's kind of the end goal of all content, is to try to evolve a better product out of what you get. They're like, a lot of the stuff that we do with Oxygen could probably be recorded on a potato and just shipped out and get the job done. But the organization actually cares enough to go the extra mile to help produce some really cool, unique content. We did a Cribs style video that we completely filmed, edited, all of that stuff, on their behalf of their team house. And it's a really, really cool video. I think if you just type like OXG Rainbow Six Team House Cribs or something like that, it should pop up on YouTube. But yeah, just kind of stepping out of what a lot of your bigger corporations, your your ESL type guys, they're just really looking to turn over the content and meet their contractual requirements. And there's nothing wrong with that, but everything that I do and my vision is to elevate the product and to bring in something that not only makes the client happy, but also the viewers as well. Whether it be like, hey, guess what? We're gonna all of a sudden be doing live action replays, on our 3Play device that we own, or anything of that nature, really, just how to crack the mold and just deliver, unique content that the audience will enjoy.
I think, yeah, content is so big. I as a follower of as a follower of multiple esports leagues, I feel like there's not enough teams taking advantage of creating like an engaging environment
Definitely
for them players. That's why when I was young, I really attached to like the Optic and FaZe brands, because they always providing something like to get me interested not only in the organization but in the players themselves. And I feel like a lot of organizations that are even in franchise leagues don't do a good enough job covering themselves. And like,
totally,
it's you want players that can sell jerseys, but you also want to help your players sell jerseys at the end of the day, because that money's going towards your brand. And exactly. I feel like there's a Call of Duty Challengers team called West R, and I've been following their Twitter, and they have been going crazy on Twitter, doing a bunch of like Marvel edits, like introducing their new roster for this Elite series. And it's just like, it's so nice to see when organizations start creating good content for their fans, because like you said, it makes that entertainment value like come to life. And at the end of the day, it's like about how many people are watching your team. Obviously you want to win, but you also want to look good for your sponsors. You also want to look good. Like, you don't, being
means
so much.
Winning games doesn't always sell jerseys. You look at some of the most successful broadcast content creators and even players out there. Those are people that aren't placing first at every event. Mm-hmm. It's and just engaging. They're going the extra level to engage their audience. So I definitely agree fully with what you're saying.
Yeah, it means a lot as a fan too, because it almost like you feel like they're doing it for you, and you feel like they're keeping you there, rather than just being like, "Hey, thanks for rooting for us and buying our shirt. Go team! Here's a tweet."
Right. Yeah, exactly. And at the end of the day, like they should be really using their platform to help transition their players into becoming stars to their fans, because that's the ultimate goal. You're always going to have stars who are going to cut t-shirts. Well, the more time that you kind of have your star players, etc., giving the rub to the rest of the teammates, the more of their viewership is going to transfer over, because they are going to identify with those players over time. And I think, it's like we all know, in my opinion, in 20 years from now, probably even sooner, probably way sooner, but there'll be reality shows of like the team houses of you know what I mean? Like this is all. Hope so. This is all. I mean, it's going to happen. I don't. The numbers are continuing to grow, and it's certain games have built out big enough audiences, but the problem is that the large enough audiences are typically like younger Fortnite players. So that it's harder to establish a long-term, monetizable product that will support not only the fan base but the business as well. And that's what I think it really comes down to, is it's we're still in our growth period, as crazy as esports has become and gaming has become, and it's a $2 billion industry. It doesn't, it's all just numbers on a wall. The more people that are born, the more gamers are born every single day. Oh yeah, it's all just going to grow. There's going to be more viewers in the long run. And yeah, I really do think we'll have, reality-based shows for, it's foolish that we already don't have something like that for the Overwatch League, or, like some additional entertainment style content outside of the scope of just gaming, to help support that brand awareness.
Could you imagine a reality show with like a Challengers Call of Duty team with like Parasite in the house? That would be one of the craziest shows.
It'd be great.
Someone's girlfriend comes walking in the room. He's just like, oh. Just his face. I would love it. I would love a good old... I feel like Call of Duty would be the perfect community just because of all the Twitter beef and the team changes happen so often. You get like features on the show. Seems like almost every week. But yeah,
definitely.
I'm so glad it's going that, like, I hope it's going that direction, but I feel like it's going to be up to the developers that own these leagues to also kind of play into their audience and ultimately, like, kind of read the room. Like, I don't feel like Fortnite could do a reality show, but I feel like a game like Halo could, like a game with more of a mature audience. Super Smash Brothers community definitely could.
Sure, sure. Yeah, but I think the key is that you would need a following the magnitude of Fortnite to be able to support something that would be like on a linear television. If you were going to go like completely, that far with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely see it, and I think that we're going to see a lot more stuff like that, in the very near future as all of these team houses develop. It's just a matter of time before some people connect the dots that they could be, running a Big Brother style team house for a Call of Duty or a Halo team. I think would get some viewership. Obviously, if it was something like let's if we could put Halo's the game Halo and just apply Fortnite's current audience size to it,
Mhm.
that would be something that could be hyper successful.
It would
So it's
definitely
just
have
a
to
matter of
start out
time.
as like a YouTube series. I f-
Yeah, I'm definitely,
yeah.
definitely.
I feel like a YouTube series, no matter what game, could gain traction like that because I feel like people are always going to be interested in like the environment that it produces, not necessarily the game.
Sure.
I feel like the game becomes almost less of a priority at that point and more of like the personalities of the community that's there.
Definitely.
I feel like that would be more watchable because like Fortnite has a great audience, yeah, but I feel like a lot of people would tune in, not necessarily a fan of esports anyway, into any game that is
Right.
providing a reality show like that because people don't know anything about the people coming into reality shows now about their background. They don't care about their background. Obviously, they care about what's going on in the house. And if you
Certainly.
make it good enough, I don't feel like doing it around a game would actually benefit the series at all. I think doing it around like the players themselves would be
Definitely.
the best
Yeah.
option around that.
Right.
But I say let's go ahead and move it forward into your career.
Sounds good.
Let's talk about In It Together with Incredible
Yep.
Technologies and how they're partnering with Golden Tee. Talk to me a little bit about them because that's currently who you're doing most of your work with now, correct?
Yeah. So I am a full-time employee at Incredible Technologies, and they are the developer who made the game Golden Tee. There's also a casino side to the business that I have pretty much nothing to do with. So I pretty much just focus on the Golden Tee mobile game and the Golden Tee golf arcade game. And one thing I do want to mention really quick is the company actually during all the COVID outbreak, etc., didn't lay off a single employee. And that was something, my one of my main jobs is to execute live events and live broadcasts and planning, those set events. So, going into a situation, where they stuck by me, knowing that I probably wasn't going to be any use to them for many, many months is just really honestly goes to show how far the industry, in my opinion, has come. You know, I would say almost every other company that I've worked for up until this current one would definitely have like cut and run when everything got, if we would have still been working for, at the Millennial Esports Arena, that would have been shut down and, we would have been just outright out of work because of that. So I just really, it's a really great company. They've taken care of me. Um, and it was one of the they say that they're one of the original esports. They are definitely one of the original esports ecosystems ever built. The game was released in, I believe it was '89, and they were running tournaments with hundreds of thousands of dollars being paid out in the '90s and 2000s. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of $1 million have been paid out to players since pay to play mode has been launched across the US. And, just that kind of longevity, it really, provides stability for me coming from a more, I guess, like a more, not futuristic, but a more recently developed pool of esports. I can take kind of the things that I know are really applicable and will help grow the brand. Like for example, we released a mobile game, and within 6 months we were qualifying people for a $30,000 16-man bracket, um, for 4 months straight, and our players loved it. We're going to be executing that event later on this year, still kind of locking in some of the information there. But just like coming from an esports background, and just knowing what has been successful and what's worked in the industry, and taking that over to Golden Tee, and to the streams as well. The first broadcast I ever did for Golden Tee, we got 6,000 views total the entire weekend. And our final event before before everything shut down, it was somewhere between 40 and 50,000 unique impressions. So we really truly, with the help of Mixer at the time, we're starting to spread awareness about the product, and gain a younger demographic who might not have heard of Golden Tee, because it is traditionally a bar game. So especially on the mobile side, where we've got a little bit of a younger player base there, and I think it being on the phone caters to that as well. So yeah, just applying some of the cool events like we're actually doing, kind of it's been done many times in esports, but I wanted to do it here, is like the Fight Club style tournaments where everybody battles it out, and then the champion holds the crown to defend the next week against the rest of the gauntlet battling it out. So we've run a bunch of Fight Clubs style events too, and it's just been cool seeing the communities sink their teeth into this, these new ways to compete.
Yeah, definitely. I could definitely see the mobile gaming just capturing like a younger audience. Talk to me about the mobile game Golden Tee itself. Is it a free to play game? How?
Yeah, it's a free to play game. You can just type Golden Tee Golf on Apple and Android. We've got over 1 million downloads on the game, and I think it's like a 4.7 star review. So it's a free game. You don't have to spend a dime, and you potentially could play in tournaments where you'd be winning, your share of a $30,000 prize pool just for farming your time into the game and becoming a good player. So it's like really the traditional esports dream of, I download this game, I just, I put time into it and I become amazingly good at it. And I get, we got 16 guys who basically at a minimum have won a free trip and free hotel to Las Vegas, if offset by their minimum, $500 guarantee from the prize pool. So, just stuff like that, allowing players, to just simply download the game for free, play from their couch. And we have a bunch of different modes. Every Monday we have like a mix up Monday with different courses. Every week we probably have 5 different fun modes we roll out, and then, at least once, to 4 times a month, we're doing, major high level tournaments.
That's awesome. I like to see that type of structure where it like really rewards the player for the grind and putting in the effort. Because there's even some major esports where it's just like it's impossible to see a reward for your grind.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's really good to see from that, and those players are getting obviously rewarded for playing your game, and then you guys are getting back to the community for playing the game itself. It's super cool.
I mean, Mike can attest that I've always pushed for larger prize pool for the top tier events. Like Evo's prize pool is ridiculous for what they're doing. It is a joke. I've said it for probably 5 years straight. And Mikey laughed because he knows it's true, but it's like the players are very dedicated and supportive to the systems and the ecosystems that have been built out for them. But at a certain point, I do believe the players at their core deserve to be rewarded significantly more for their efforts. And like, I'm talking bigger prize pools paid out to more players. I'm not talking just add on an extra 10K for first. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about provide the semi-professional players winning a chunk of money to make it worth their time. They're going to tell their friends are going to get involved. Everything's going to grow as a whole. And I guess that's the kind of like the core idea of what I'm trying to do with the Golden Tee stuff, is really just reward based events that focus on, like, yes, you can win, you get the pride, you get the glory, and you get a check for 10 grand, like that's cool.
That's awesome. And talk to me more about the Fight Club, because other games have something similar, like Salty Sweets and stuff like that. I like this concept a lot. This is like the winner. It's kind of like the winner stays, like that classic feel of like, just lose, get off.
Well, what's cool about ours is that in the traditional models, it only caters to the top 1% of the players.
Mhm.
So what we did was we kind of took like a UFC model and broke down the levels in the game. So if you're level 0 through 10, you're in the flyweight division.
Mhm.
Levels 11 through 20, featherweight, all the way up to levels, 40 through 49, which is the highest level cap in the game. And that's like the super heavyweight, whatever division.
Mhm.
So providing the people who've like you just downloaded the game 2 weeks ago, like you will be put in your so there's a qualifying period for Fight Club where for basically 5 days you can play 10 games, and then we take like your best average scores, and the top 8 players get put into a bracket where they just play versus each other, seeded off of your scores. So if you were to download the game within 2 weeks, you could basically be playing someone else who downloaded the game 2 weeks ago and was a similar level cap, and you would basically be playing for thousands of in-game gold. And if you won, you would basically become champion of that division. Our heavyweights stay on and defend their championship every single week. So, we take tens of thousands of players, funnel it down to 5 brackets of 8 for each skill level. And then we actually do a live broadcast of all of the championship matches from each bracket and the heavyweight title defense. We do it in order of like a UFC card as well, starting with the flyweight and like the title matches, ending the card. So, just create. I guess that kind of builds on what I was saying earlier about the Fight Club stuff is you've seen it done a million times. But our mechanism of doing it and the players that we appeal to, along with delivering content off the back of that to our audience, is kind of just the core of what I'm talking about. Just building multiple levels on a good foundation.
Well, yeah, and that gives you guys a really good opportunity to show off a lot of the players that are playing your game as well. And just another form of a reward for playing the game, and even at all different levels. So I do watch I do like watching the UFC a ton. So I like to see that style, because that broadcast is always super entertaining. You get all levels of competition. Yeah. And then obviously
we have fight cards with like the players' average scores while they're facing off against each other before they go into fight. We have commentators who are like, all right, in our flyweight match, we've got anti-chain, whatever the person's name is, So it's I didn't mean to jump in there, but it's cool.
No, I like that a lot. I mean, that's super interesting to me, as like I said, as far as a UFC spectator. So I'd like to see more of that trickle into esports. So I'll definitely have to check that out.
And I love seeing some of the lower level competition of lower level players. Like sometimes those guys have games that are on par with the best of the best. And, sometimes those matches are just highly entertaining and funny. And, it's just, it makes it more interesting than everybody has to be the best all the time. We're looking at, hey, these are beginners. Let's see what they can do with the pressure's on. Sometimes it's a little much for people, and that's the nature of the beast, right?
Yeah, always the nature of the beast. The pressure, I love the pressure. I love seeing people fold, or some people play better under pressure, man. Some people, they don't know how to play until that pressure's there. I'm the same way.
I was terrible. In my Halo days, nobody ever wanted to team with me until they played with me on LAN. When they were playing with me online, they were like, oh, this kid is terrible, I was a sponsored player, but a lot of people would there were people that said I sponsored my team myself, which at certain points I definitely did to continue on in between seasons and stuff.
Yep.
But not it's not like I was I would cover hotel room and food type situation. I wasn't going to the extreme.
Yeah. No. If I see money slapped on the table and we're playing for it, it's a grind. It's gonna get real. I'm gonna stand up, point, and yell. I'll let you know exactly where I'm coming from.
Did you just challenge me to a 1v1, bro? Because
dude, I'll do it.
Listen, I don't want to have to point check somebody. It's been about a year or 10 years since I was able to put.
Trust me, I'll be fine.
Come back next week, guys. No, I actually, you know what? I'll tell you, I probably would get just destroyed, man. It's been a long time since I've picked up the sticks and tried to take it seriously on that level. Gaming is more of a, turning it into my career. Gaming has really just been kind of like a fun outlet at this point, and the less pressure involved, kind of the better, because I don't want to, bastardize one of the few things that bring me bring me joy as a hobby.
Yeah, I mean, with no events for me this year, I don't like besides hosting online Halo events. I've just been playing like every day, like 2 or 3 other days. Whether it's Call of Duty, I'm playing a little bit more Halo again, but I gotta play with Mike. I know Mike's been playing some MCC lately.
Yeah, I've been playing with Andy, and thankfully he switched over to mouse and keyboard. Finally, he's giving it a chance.
I did. I feel like there's just too much pressure with the controller, and I can't do what I used to do with the controller. So it's just like, I just feel, at least if I'm on a mouse and keyboard, I'm like, oh, I used to use a controller.
There's like
John, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I got
built-in excuse, ready to go.
Well, I want to jump back real quick on something you guys just like in the previous conversation you talked about. And like, Alex, I think that's the thing. Like a lot of people, when they hear Golden Tee esports, there's kind of like this weird, like, like that's a thing. Like, and I don't think a lot of people understand, like, because of the nature of it being an arcade game, and especially being in like, even like the game is located in like Buffalo Wild Wings, which like most people are like, oh, that's an attraction for like the kids to go play while the dads are watching basketball or whatever. Like, that's what kind of the ecosystem started before the game even went online. It's like people just go up to the machine, like slap $1 on the machine, be like, all right, let's money match, let's play. And Andy, I think that's crazy to hear. Like, not only has the game evolved so much, even prior to you coming on with Golden Tee, but you guys have had like huge partnerships and stuff too for a lot of these events. And I know you guys just recently got involved with probably what is the biggest sponsor you could have for a golf game.
That is correct. We just recently announced a partnership with the Professional Golf Association, the PGA. So that's pretty much, for a golf game, that is the dream. And it's something that the company has pursued for a long time. I wish I could say that I had something to do with it. I don't, but it's awesome that they this was something that kind of was brought in right as I came on with the company. And, it's cool to see the level of commitment that the company has had. There have been multiple times we've sent, drone operators to different PGA courses to basically fly the course so we can implement that into our, coding software and build out one-to-one courses of these PGA,
That's so cool.
Locations. So that, and I guess another thing to add on to that is the software and hardware just underwent a monstrous update. The graphics are really better than they've ever been for Golden Tee. There was definitely some limitations with the arcade setup and coming from that realm. And I think this new cabinet, this new partnership is really going to rocket the product as a whole to a higher level. We're gonna be able to just appeal to such a wider audience, and it opens up a lot of doors for partnerships as well. To people that are already on with the PGA Tour. Well, we're pretty much doing a digital version of the PGA Tour. With these live events, and I mean Golden Tee live events, they're happening every single month. The prize pool ranges from $10,000 to $15,000. And there's 150 plus people, before obviously the outbreak, but showing up to these events every month. They have, some events, hundreds of bodies playing on 20 machines, 20 plus machines over the course of the weekend. So the ecosystem is really of just the arcade side. Those players is huge, and we're now opening up a whole new box of potential coming from the PGA side. And I'm sure there's going to be some great partnerships either with players or brands, and we're going to try to do some really unique events off the back of that. Nothing I can say for sure yet, but really excited about the future of the PGA partnership and the impact that it's going to have on the scene as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, Mike knows this. I'm a huge fan of brands like that hopping on the esports train.
Absolutely.
So that just like you said, that opens the door up to all of those, whether it be club providers, golf ball providers, even just anything potential sponsorships there. So that by itself is massive.
Right.
A lot of people are like, oh, PGA Tour sponsor this, but people don't realize that opens up the floodgates for everything else that's attached to the PGA Tour.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I really think that we do have a lot to provide in return with our hyper engaged audience that's been following us for decades. Potentially, esports is a very buzzworthy word right now. Everybody's sprinkling it onto their word sandwiches. And, just to see, I love Papa John's. I'm not the biggest fan of their pizza, but they put a lot of money into esports. They help build the scene. They might have done some.
Say it.
They might have done some fuck shit in the past, but we're gonna just move past that real quick.
Yeah, their PR moves haven't been incredible, but
their PR moves have not been incredible, but they're still in the space, and they're still trying. They to a certain extent they've learned from their mistakes, as there have been nothing like that situation to occur again.
Yep.
But I at the end of the day, I respect them for it. To see the community and to try to help support that community, regardless of making mistakes along the way. I think that's pretty common. Esports as a whole with MLG burned all the major investors who wanted to get in the crowd in the beginning. Your Dr. Peppers, your Hot Pockets, they're Old Spices. All of those people got horribly burned. So you got to keep that in mind. Like if somebody like a Papa John's has a little slip up, just look at it over time. If they're continuing to try to help grow the space and evolve the space, and I'm not mad at it. I'm mad at no corporation who comes in to try to support communities, as long as as long as it's a fair trade-off for the players, and it's not like like an Evo, for example.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the times the people that made the mistakes aren't even the people that are involved with partnering with people like you guys, and exactly. It's usually someone at the top that really can't even make decisions. They just happen to be in the light.
They can't even, and most of the time those people find a way of failing upwards, and they don't. I don't know how those people even tie their shoes in the morning sometimes, and it's strange to see, every owner that I've had for basically every company I've worked for is someone that I would say was at best mildly incompetent to, potentially horribly detrimental to the business itself. And
I know
incredible,
all about that.
with incredible technologies. I have a woman owner and CEO of the company, and I have no complaints at all. I'm given a very, it's understood that to a certain extent I've kind of cut my teeth in this space and know what I'm doing, and I've kind of been given the reins to lead where I see fit, which is really at the end of the day the dream. Right. So I just I do want to say that anybody who's watching, or if you wonder the decisions or the calls that some of your favorite companies or organizers or events make, you got to keep in mind that there could just be some loopy investor type person who decides things are going to be a certain way. Yep. And everybody around that person basically tells them that is a bad decision, and it is going to be a bad decision for X, Y, and Z. And they're like, no, just wait. And of course it turns out to be a bad decision. But they find somebody else to blame for it. Yep. And that's just the industry. And it's changed a lot, since those days, but there's definitely, you still see people that are failing up. And we still have a long ways to go. Yep. To get the connection between owner and community manager, community developer, leader, figurehead, what have you. So that's my little soapbox there.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these investors that are coming in are so new to the space, and they didn't grow up in the space, so they don't know how to really care about the community and how to. How to nurture it. But the professional gaming world is by no means a traditional business marketing standard. If you went to school for traditional business marketing and you were to look how to market in the esports industry, it is almost backwards.
Yeah, almost.
One of my favorite stories that I love to tell, and it's great because I actually have Andy here. He can confirm this and he can tell his side of it. we had a very impromptu meeting. Like literally we were told by a member of the company we were working for, a member of the executive board was like, hey guys, there's going to be a car, or no, I think it was a limo actually. There's a limo rolling up to your team house in about 20 minutes. There are two very, very important investors who are looking at getting into the business, and you need to talk with them. And so like we give them the whole pitch, like here's what esports is, this is what we do, blah, blah, blah. And I, no joke, stone face, this older gentleman looks at us sitting across the table and he goes, how are you guys a legitimate sport when you don't have baseball cards? How is it none of your players have baseball cards? And that's the same reaction. That's the same reaction Andy made. And like literally trying to express like, okay, in the traditional space, you look at a team, they sign a player, they release a baseball card, they're there for a season. That's not at all how it works in esports. Not
they could be there for a week, they could be there for a day.
But that's the first hurdle we had to get over, just to explain to these people what kind of industry they were trying to step into.
So, I mean, we've done crazy things. At one point, we completely repivoted from being an esports arena that would be open for live events and production to it was a closed facility for live events and production only, to a open doors to public. We now have 8 racing simulators because we purchased the title Gear Club and one of the investors decided that we needed to have racing simulators in the arena and that we needed to do contests every day and that we could charge people money to come in, and it was like a brilliant business idea.
This was in Vegas, correct?
This was in Vegas, absolutely. This was in a 15,000 square foot arena with a near $1 million production studio.
Can I mention that company real quick, or do you want me to keep?
Oh yeah, go right ahead.
Okay, so this is with Millennial, correct?
This is Millennial Esports.
Okay. So
better yet, wait, hold on. Better yet, I have another story to lead into. Alex, I want to get your thoughts, but I want to share this first as well, because this is something as well I've tried to get off my chest for a while. And Andy, you can comment on this whether you want to or not. I was never under NDA, so I'm fine sharing this, and just because it helps share kind of the discussion that we're having as far as the disconnect between the powers that be and the actual like the people with boots on the ground. Mm-hmm. Andy and I previously, the name of the company was Pro Gaming League, abbreviated to PGL. It was discovered, there's other PGL organizations out there. That's more than fine. But what happened was there was a convention that was happening. There was a kind of like business invite only expo happening for esports and primarily like casino resorts and their executives. And we were asked to, as representatives of Pro Gaming League, to show up and like handle panels and talk about the business and kind of, just be there as like points of contact. We get there and I'm like, hey, I walked the entire show floor. I'm looking at the map. Where's the Pro Gaming League booth? And they're like, oh no, we're not Pro Gaming League. We were branded. I'm like, you changed the name of the company? And they're like, yeah, we changed it. I'm like, what's the name of the company now? And they just turn and point, and I see Millennial Esports, and just every single one of us that actually worked in the esports industry, just like, this is a dream, right? This is like, okay, take it down, put out the real branding. Like, no,
right.
Overnight with no discussion for anybody actually involved in the esports industry,
nightmare.
Had a closed door meeting with all these executives and changed the name from Pro Gaming League. Go ahead.
It was a decision made by 3 boomers to name a company Millennial Esports.
Okay.
Yeah. That's enough said right there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. So I have a question. So I was a huge fan of PGL. I was because at the time you guys were running the Halo 4 ladders and the Advanced Warfare ladders. I was number 1 with my teammate Vox on the Halo 4 ladder and the Advanced Warfare 2v2 ladder at the same time. Told you, professional.
That's right.
Big gamer.
Continue. I didn't mean to interrupt. Continue.
You guys paid a couple of my checks.
I'm trying to just hype you up. In the background.
No. It was one of those things where it was like we were queuing up because you guys had like the 30-minute wait times.
Yep.
So we would be playing our Halo match while we queued our Call of Duty match. And so we would get messages in the middle of our Halo match like, hey, you have a COD match in like 10 minutes. You know that, right? And we're like, yeah, we're just warming up for Call of Duty because we're playing Halo ladder. I want to know what happened to that site, because that site was the most underrated ladder site I have ever played on. hands down.
Okay.
Wait, can you? Okay, in your best words, talk about the fall of the site, because I love PGL, the site.
So the functionality of the site, while there was a critical mass of users on, was fantastic. When you could hit that button or schedule a match and fill that match, it was great. The problem with that is like the amount of money that needed to be spent to onboard that critical user mass never never really returned investment. I mean, we had Ninja on in the beginning before he had a larger following. You know, we worked with Criparian, you know, and we established, I did a grassroots Clash Royale campaign that got thousands of players with thousands and thousands of matches. And I actually proved that it could be a sustainable model without bringing in the figurehead of the community. But I don't know, for some reason they didn't, the powers that be did not want to continue on with, you know, something that we had built from the ground up that was hyper successful and the community loved. And that's, at the end of the day, that's kind of the main part of the problem, is that there were not enough players like you who didn't know about the site.
Right.
You know, there was a you know, just an awareness issue more than anything. You know, we never really got the critical mass of users. And at one point, I had somebody who was interested in buying the site full functionality and repurposing it basically to be the same thing that it was. And they weren't interested in selling the asset. And I believe now that it's basically just a dead asset that they don't know how to do anything with, which is basically the company as a whole, in my opinion.
Right.
But
well, it was one of those things where, like, honestly, only top players got on it. It was hard competition the whole time.
And that was the problem, is that they were really just trying to focus on trying to close business with people like Microsoft or 343 or Blizzard, and not like you know, a lot of those events and tournaments build-outs that you saw were essentially trying to prove that we could take over executing the series on behalf of your company and do it well. And then when those circuits didn't just kind of like grow and live off of those activations, you can't spend another $30,000 to try to onboard users if you've done it twice and you're still lacking a critical user base,
right?
Mass critical user base. So that's kind of, you know, just like the blunt honesty of the situation, is that they never found a way to get enough players that a player of a crummy skill level could consistently play players of crummy skill levels, and they would all have a good time because they had a fair shot going into the match in the beginning. It kind of just became a place of kind of like the best of the best, not telling anybody about it to try to sneak the prize pools, which is
I was trying to get everyone.
That's what, you know, but you know, that's not a common mentality with
right?
People, they find a prize pool, they find a good tournament, and they don't tell anybody about it because they just want to win that one come up. And that's the main, you know, that's where I'm going to shake my finger a little bit at communities, is like, if you want stuff like that, you have to like go above and beyond to support it. And like, you know, it shouldn't be that hard to go like retweet a tweet or go follow somebody, or like, if you know, if you know, Tommy's Burgers is sponsoring an event, give Tommy's Burgers a fucking follow. Like it's not that hard, guys. Like we could, the players could make this industry double what it is within a span of months just by choosing to become twice as engaged.
Just co-marketing, man.
That's
co-marketing, co-branding would help the community so much. Well, it was honestly, I enjoyed that site way more than Game Battles. Way more. Like
I'm a Game Battles OG, so I don't you know, I stomped those ladders for years, so I don't I love Game Battles, man.
I love Game Battles, but I could just pull up PGL on my phone, hit find match, it would find match. I wouldn't have to like really search for a match. Like I couldn't really pick and choose. Like once I got into like a ladder, it was like, no, you're playing this game type, you're playing these maps, and these are good players, and you're just gonna have to play them. But it's like, I can get on Game Battles right now, and I can kind of like, all right, well, these people only want to play a best of one hard point, and they don't even want CDL settings. These kids probably aren't the best. I'm gonna play that and get my ladder points.
Right.
But PGL, that was unavoidable.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, that app, that website was supposed to be built out into a front-facing app that would literally queue you, whether it was a live or online event, that would queue you of like, hey, you're playing Tommy at Station 5 right now, and it's these maps, and it's this, and this.
Right.
And you walk over to Station 5, he just checked his phone and got it. But
dream.
what came down to it is that we never really found we never found like an EA or a Microsoft or
Right.
Amazon who was coming to really come in and pay for the development.
I wonder
And
if
that's,
PGL would have succeeded more with like the HCS, with like live events at like a DreamHack setting, because I feel like that would be super easy in a DreamHack setting where you could be all the way across the venue and then it just pop up like, hey, this station now.
Absolutely, yeah. And it wasn't a priority with the company, just because of who was in charge of where the dollars were going. We were focused on building racing simulators,
Yeah.
off of the Nintendo Switch and like a PlayStation steering wheel with a Mayfly adapter to trick it into recognizing the system. Like, just ghetto bullshit that we never should have been dealing with. I spent $30,000 building low tier racing simulators and spent out another $10,000 in prize pool. Like, give me that $40,000 to start the development of an app that can be used at a place like DreamHack, and we're not tied to having to make money in our physical arena location and doing events there. We can, they had another asset called Stream Hatchet, which is great for analytics. It's probably the most impactful thing they have left under the umbrella of the company. But stuff like that, just investing more in resources that are going to develop over time and allow you to step out of your physical box location and make money.
Well, the only thing Halo really had outside of you guys at that time specifically was AGL, and we know how that ended.
Well, it's not even really, honestly, like the two things aren't even comparable in my opinion.
No.
And I think what we were doing, I'll tell you straight up, the first Halo event that we did was the worst event of my life.
That was the 10K, right?
Mike, I believe so. Mike.
That was Indie PopCon.
Mm-hmm.
That was
not Indie PopCon. The one at the arena, the first.
Oh,
arena. So,
that was the arena
fair,
opening. Yeah,
Indie PopCon was the first Halo tournament, live event executed, but the first Halo event at the Millennial PGL Arena, or I guess it's just the Millennial Arena. We were the production team for that, but the event was still under construction, and they had to stop construction, haul everything out. We had to basically clean the venue and then load in a bunch of setups, trussing, lighting, staging, everything, pop up this event. And then once it was done, we had to clear everything out and they had to pop construction back up. So we literally worked that was hell for 12 days straight. We worked in a week. We worked over 120 hours, like just not even legal stuff to make this event happen. And I felt a little disrespected, honestly, by the Halo community, that they didn't really take on with what we were trying to build out for them and the timing of it and everything. There was nothing else like it. We were basically a miniature MLG from back in the day, and we were trying to like re-legitimize the circuit. And I just honestly, at the end of the day, like the players just didn't show up enough.
I love Halo. I love Halo, but our community's been the worst at like just showing up, just watching.
Entitled, overprivileged. You do not deserve what you get as a community because you don't like. And I don't care. Like, if you don't like this, that's fine. But it's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't. The Halo community is greedier than almost any other community. Like, there'll be, players who will ask, for just the most ridiculous things and not understand that like there's a business that needs to support this in the background.
Yeah.
At the same time, like we're bending over backwards to making stuff happen, and we hear a bunch of hype when it first happens, but then like weeks and weeks go by and nobody's really logging matches, and like our next event happens and we've got less teams. It just didn't make sense. And at the end of the day, like I don't care. I'm just gonna blame the community. Like we had a sweet setup. We had a dope venue. We had a online, website ranking system. I did not think it was the best, but you had a great experience with it.
I loved it. It was so easy to use. Like
exactly.
it was so easy to use. Well, that's the thing, man. Because I was teaming with a bunch of people that had never really gone on the game battles, and like making a game battles, linking your account was kind of difficult. Yep. But you guys it's just like step 1, step 2, step 3, quick play, and it was just like go. And it's like, yes, dude, I need this. Like, this is what I need to get like players around me motivated to play. And there was good players on, like, and the last tournament that we played in, I think Enable and Flamesword were playing. Like, that's when like Enable was like starting to like think about coming back.
Yeah. The good old status quo squad.
Yeah, me and my buddy Sean played them in the 2v2, and it was just like, this is like competition. This is what we wanted to play.
Exactly.
But I think the big shot in the arm for the Halo community and why we got so salty about everything was that AGL 10 event that hypothetically was hosted and never was really going to happen.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, we wanted the we were another thing too. While I'm throwing people under the bus, let's just add 343 to the list because we were executing multiple live Halo events that were successful and the community enjoyed. And yeah, we didn't have as much people playing on our ladders, but we had, lots of teams show up. It had an MLG, old school MLG feel to it personally.
Yeah.
And I heard multiple people say that.
Well, I think even just to attest to that was the last HCS event that we hosted out of the Millennial Esports Arena. Optic ended up winning that, and during the interviews afterwards, Lethal was on stage, and they're hey, like, what do you think of your performance this weekend? You guys are strong, blah blah blah. And he's like, legitimately, he's like standing on stage in our facility, and he's going, I don't understand why 343 decided to host the Halo World Championships at the ESL studios. We should be doing it here.
Yep.
And that to me was like, I didn't care what anybody else said that weekend. I didn't care what other feedback. It's like when you have the winning team on stage hijacking the interview to let everybody know, like, we should be. And then that was the year that they did the birthday party. That's the one with the deflated balloons out front of ESL studios. That was,
we could have had that pumping in our arena and it would have been awesome. And instead they did deflated balloon, sad clown, sixth grader party. And that's where 343 gets thrown right under the bus. So,
to be fair, Seattle the next year was okay.
But like, I mean, dude, but they've been with the product for years.
Yeah,
There's no excuse. Like you have a venue that can execute these events and do these broadcasts and the community loves it, but yet you choose to still go with somebody because on paper they're like the proper ESL's the proper decision on paper.
But ESL doesn't.
But how'd that work out in the long run? You just got to go with the people who are putting in the work and the community likes and the environment they like. So it's like the community not supporting what we were trying to build to a certain extent, and then ultimately 343 not supporting what the company at that time was trying to build. And it might have been a right decision in the long run because Millennial did end up going under due to just terrible board of director management and vision for the company. So it might not have even been a bad decision, but at the time I felt a certain way about it because I loved Halo and like we were doing our best to provide amazing Halo, and honestly, Mike and myself killed ourselves working those events. Literally, it was words cannot describe what we went through for those events. So just not seeing it develop into what we wanted to is why I'm so jaded and throwing everybody else under the bus right now, and I'll hop off my soapbox at this point.
Oh, go on.
Go ahead.
No, hit it, Mike.
Well, I was gonna say, Andy, I feel like we're kind of hitting that moment where it's like, obviously we could talk the rest of the evening.
Yeah.
Totally.
I know you have other obligations and things. Like I would love, and I'm sure Alex will attest to this as well. We could easily have you come back to give us an update as far as Golden Tee and the things that are happening there. But we could also too. We could almost do like a 4-part mini series where it's just talking about like the way the industry used to be and the way that we used to build out events and slave ourselves. I was told the venue tearing down a lot of those hotel parties, but anyway,
I was 15-year-old
bopping
around like, let's go.
I just wanted to, Andy. First and foremost, thanks again for coming on. I just want to give you a chance. Like, obviously, like your Twitter is tagged in the actual episode itself. I tagged you on it earlier. Lavish GT is, where can other people find updates for Golden Tee? Are there any other projects you got coming up you want to, kind of promote, or any other special shout outs before we let you go for the evening?
Yeah. I've focused less on my personal channels and stuff. So a lot of the stuff I'm doing is just kind of behind businesses at this point. Mm-hmm. If you want to follow Golden Tee on YouTube, that would actually be great. We do have a lot of cool content out there, the fight clubs, the world championships. Just type at Golden Tee, all one word. You can find it pretty much on every platform. We got a TikTok as well, and we're potentially going to be doing some live streaming on there as a new thing as well. So yeah, I mean, for the most part, you don't need to follow me. I'm just kind of behind the scenes, doing things. So I don't have anything to really plug for myself. It was definitely a pleasure to come on and chat with you guys, though. And I mean, you could take a look at Blasphemous's channel as well, I guess, if you want. But yeah, outside of that, I would be happy to come back and do more stuff. And I will just apologize for my long-windedness.
No problem. I enjoy that conversation. I could have gone on all night about.
Oh yeah, me too.
That stuff.
Well, we're definitely gonna have to get you two on some MCC later at some point, whether to 1v1 or actually team up. That's up to you guys.
Let's just run some games, dude.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to get embarrassed on a 1v. I was completely out of pocket. I would get shat upon if I played these days. In my prime.
I think everyone's past their Halo prime now.
I will. Hopefully we'll do this again. It was a pleasure.
For sure. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on. Nice to finally meet you. It was like you said, we'll have to do it again.
It was a good one. All right. You guys have a good evening.
Yeah, you too. All right. Well, thank you so much, obviously, Andy, for coming on, teaching us, learning us some lessons. We have one final segment for you guys. We got to do some CDL predictions, and I got a little bit of news as I pull it up. Again, thank you so much, Andy, for coming on. You're sick to have you. We'll have to do another episode with him in the near future. I would love to talk about Halo, especially I wonder if he was at some of those old Helltail parties back in the ML.
May have been.
Yeah,
may have been.
I see some underground stories from the Halo community there. But let's get into the nitty gritty. First, let's go over the CDL news that happened this weekend. We're your guys' one-stop shop for everything, all goodness about the CDL. No Zinni, no Winnie. Methods have been dropped from Ultra. Gonna be in Challengers now. So Toronto Ultra no longer having Methods. It's a poor shame. Poor shame. Also, the XM4 has been GA'd officially, so the teams are no longer running the XM4. They're running the QBZ and the Krig for their main assault rifles. The 70U muzzle attachments are also GA'd. There's also talks about possibly GAing the QBZ, so maybe 3 assault rifles going straight down the meta trash can. And 2 new maps, Apocalypse and Express, has officially made it into the rotation of the CDL. Apocalypse Hardpoint will be replacing Crossroads Hardpoint. I don't know if I necessarily love this. I feel like Crossroads finally got good with that new P4 hill move. But it happens. Apocalypse is also a great map. Super open third lane. A lot of really interesting routes you can run here. A lot of good long range play and some interesting routes for submachine gun players. And Express S&D will finally be replacing Garrison S&D. Fun fact, Garrison S&D during stage 1 did not have one single bomb plant on the A site. Every single bomb.
Interesting. I don't think I noticed that.
Every single bomb plant was on B in the middle of the map, not on the outside towards crates. So, yep, Express S&D is finally in. I mean, once we saw Express coming to Call of Duty, we knew it was going to be an S&D map. Do a quick gloss over Challengers, the Elite, Stage 2 North America. We're just going to go over top 2. We have E-Star, which is obviously a joke, and then Team Westar, both 2-0. I guess you can say Fantastic Four is 2-0 as well. Westar, Paul X has officially moved over to the London Royal Ravens, and Parasite has stepped down and now is playing on Westar. So Parasite didn't last too long. I kind of expected it. He wasn't playing too hot, playing a little bit too slow. I don't feel like the team chemistry was really there. And then in the European stage 2, make sure I got it. We have top 2 is Passion, 4-0, Rams, and Team Connect. Rams and Team Connect are both 2-1. So second place is tied. Finally, prediction time. Let me get on.
Well, before we get in prediction time, I want to get, what are your ideas with more GAs coming into the CDL, and just kind of like your overall standpoint on where they, where we currently stand. How long until, we talked about it weeks before. Are you now, with as many GAs as are in the game, are you okay with there being actually defined classes, possibly future in the CDL for players just to lock in?
Yes.
Okay. That's the point we're almost at right now anyway. So,
dude, do you know what fix? Dude, I've said this so many times. Do you know what fix this? The whole thing? Pick 10. Pick 10 system.
Pick 10.
Pick 10. Bring back the Pick 10. All right, let's get into our predictions. We have the predictions up on the screen. Obviously, not our predictions, but the matches. I gotta turn on a light. Do I? No, this should be good. So we have Thursday, March 18th. We have I personally think is going to be a banger of a match. The first match of the whole week tomorrow, starting at 12 Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. We have Atlanta Vase versus the New York Subliners. I think this is a banger, actually. Can New York do it?
I had Subliners in, the first major, really going all the way. I don't know as good as FaZe looked. My gut is telling me it could be a 3-0. I'm going to say it's a 3-1 for FaZe, but FaZe just looked unstoppable. Stomped through Dallas, stomped through everybody else in their way. Like, if that same FaZe shows up, I'm going to say 3-1, but it could potentially be a 3-0.
I'm guessing 3-2 for Atlanta. Something's telling me.
I think that's closer. That is closer.
I don't know. We're in the new meta though. I think the new meta without the XM4 actually does hurt a team like New York. I think I'm going to agree with you. I think 3-1.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the meta of old.
That's true. Yeah, like you said, we have more GAs, we have new maps. There are some things here that are going to favor one team over another. I just feel like Atlanta, originally my whole mindset was Dallas was unstoppable, but really Atlanta FaZe right now is just looking too good. Coming off that last victory, I'm rooting for Subliners. I really want them to do well, but I don't. I just see 3-1.
We have second match on Thursday is a rematch from losers round 1 of the major. Okay, guys. Seattle has a rough week ahead of them. Let's be real. This week they're playing Florida, and then the second match of the week is going to be Dallas. So, in true Alex fashion, I do have to pick them to win one of them. I think Seattle's going to win this. 3-2. No, 3-1. They won't be able to win the search. 3-2 because they're going to lose the control. And let me guess, you have Florida.
I have Florida. I want to give Seattle more confidence than I could. I mean, I really think that Mutineers are just going to steamroll here, but I'm saying 3-2 for Mutineers over Seattle Surge.
Hey, at least you haven't put up a fight.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like they showed that first round, like it was actually a really good match. They just didn't.
Just can't close it down.
They couldn't get it done at the end of the game. Yep, but we'll see. Yeah, so I have 3-2 Florida Mutineers beating out Seattle Surge.
Okay, and then we have our first game on Friday. We have the LA Thieves versus the Toronto Ultra. Both of these teams are a little bit of a disappointment in the last major that we saw. I do think LA is going to bounce back a lot harder than Ultra is. I think they have a lot to prove. They just added a substitute to their roster. They just added a substitute roster. I forget who the sub is that came in, but I think that's them basically putting the pressure on saying, hey, if you guys aren't succeeding, we're going to make a change. And I think, honestly, the only realistic change here would be Temp. So I think LA Thieves is going to step it up because there's no way Temp is going to be dropped. 3-1 for LA Thieves for me.
This is a rough one. I everything you just said about LA Thieves, I 100% echo. I really think they're going to try and bounce back and they're going to perform better. I would go as far as say if Toronto Ultra does beat Thieves here, it might be an upset just from, from a standpoint, definitely from a fan standpoint, but like more so of like the actual standings going into stage 2. I actually have LA Thieves winning the series 3-2. I think it's going to be a lot closer. Toronto, I wouldn't be surprised if they win this series, but I think it's going to be close either way.
Okay. Makes sense to me. So you say 3-2.
Correct. 3-2 for LA Thieves. And then this next one, oh man. Next one, I feel like I got to bite my lip. We got Paris Legion versus Minnesota Rockcore. Hey, what? Predicted the Paris Legion upsets in stage 1. Pretty much 100% accurate. I don't know why I'm having such a change of heart. I actually have Minnesota winning this matchup 3-1.
Wow.
I just feel like Minnesota is, I personally am putting them on this pedestal. They're obviously in the top half of all the CDL teams that are there. And I feel like not necessarily that it was a fluke that Paris performed so well in a lot of those early matchups. But again, just something in my brain is just not clicking for Paris Legion. And again, I've Minnesota winning 3-1 that series.
I'm going Paris 3-2.
Oh, interesting. All right. This could be the tiebreaker too, as far as like our personal stats and predictions.
Well, we're already on different sides of Florida, Seattle.
True. That's very true.
So Saturday we have another rematch, Optic and Paris. Paris playing back-to-back Friday night, Saturday morning. I think it's going to be 3-0 Optic. Or 3-1
I 100% agree. I put 3-0 for Optic.
Okay.
And it's unfortunate, like I said. I had so much faith in Paris. I thought they were going to perform well. The fact they're playing a night game into a morning game, I think is really going to hurt them even more. Yep. I think coming off of the loss from Minnesota, potentially coming off of the loss of Minnesota, they're not going to perform as well. And Optic 3-0.
This next match, I think, is pretty interesting. Minnesota actually playing back-to-back days as well. They're playing Florida Mutineers. I don't feel like this is actually a good matchup for Minnesota. I have Florida losing to Seattle and bouncing back the third day 3-1. I'm doing 3-1. I will probably give the Search and Destroy to Minnesota, but Awakening's been a monster with those First Bloods.
Yeah.
Even though Awakening had the most First Bloods in the last series that they played, they actually lost all of those rounds that he got First Blooded. So
yeah. I have things flipping a little bit opposite. I think that Minnesota coming off of the previous day and having a good matchup with Paris and kind of like rebuilding their confidence as a team, I actually have them beating Florida Mutineers 3-1. So I have the flip of your prediction there. I really feel like Minnesota is kind of like they're going to be on this upper trajectory. I really think they're going to get back to kind of like that really solid like 4th place, 5th place team, CDL rankings that they were previously. And so, yeah, I have them beating Florida 3-1, but I could see it going either way. It's probably going to be a closer series than that, but 3-1 for Minnesota.
Fair enough. Then we have Dallas and Seattle again. Oh, man, I'll be super pissed off if I predict Dallas winning this and Seattle wins this. But I'm going to predict that Dallas is going to win this 3-1. I feel like they're going to drop the first hard point.
I have Dallas winning 3-0.
All right, well.
It's probably going to be a 3-1. I think you're 100% correct, especially with the S&D, or with Hardpoint. But yeah, I just see Dallas. I still have Dallas is like my piggyback team, and like I want them to do really well, so I have to put them.
Last season championship.
I haven't bought one of their hoodies yet. Funny enough, I haven't bought one of their hoodies yet.
Yeah.
So.
Well, shocker. No one buys Dallas hoodies. Are you kidding me? All right, Sunday we're moving on to. I think this is a pretty interesting match. Kinda. I think my answer might be a little bit surprising. I think London actually wins this. Coming out of the gate, they did not win a single match in stage 1. They almost won one. They took one to game 5, and that was against Dallas. But Parasite leaving and Paul X stepping up to the plate. I think Paul X fits this team a lot more.
Yeah.
I want to say 3-2 London. Because they got to win one at some point.
I think you are correct, but I actually flipped the script. I think that LA Gorillas is going to win that matchup 3-2. primarily just because of how well they showed playing in that first stage 1 major. I think it's going to be a close series. And I think that's a testament to the fact that we're both predicting the series is going to be 3-2, and we're just predicting both sides of the coin. I think that's really a testament to how good this matchup should be.
Of course. And for this next match, we have Atlanta versus Toronto. I already wrote down 3-0. So if you want to say anything else, I shouldn't have to do much explaining there. No Zinni, no Winnie.
I put 3-1. My heart originally wanted to put 3-2. Atlanta FaZe beating out Toronto Ultra. I feel like they're such a good team, but again, like FaZe coming off the show, I have them going. You know what's crazy is I have 3-1 for Atlanta.
Here's the thing.
Oh man, I want to put 3-2 so bad because I feel like this is the underdog. I feel it in my bones. This is the underdog game of this season.
I hope Toronto never wins another series because they drop Methods. I am not a fan of this team right now. I'm actually angry at this team. I haven't been angry at a team like this. I have not seen a team that I want to lose more than this team. I want this team to lose. No Zinni, noted. No Winnie. If you drop your best player,
man, dude. You don't even muster the words.
I can't even fathom what was going through their heads when they dropped Zinni, dude. I can't even fathom. No Zinni, no Winnie. 3-0. All right, last match. Banger, fire, hot fire. This is going to be a battle. We have LA Thieves and Subliners. Usually I take one match and I kind of break it down a little bit more than the other ones. This is the one I wanted to talk about. The New York Subliners, I believe, are going to struggle a little bit with this new meta change. I feel like the XM4 fitted DiamondCon and Clayster very, very well. But with the QBZ coming up, I do feel like DiamondCon can still make some of those run and gun plays with QBZ. Super high fire rate. LA Thieves, I think this meta actually helps. I think LA Thieves gets better with no XM4. You allow Kenny and TJ to run around the map like insane people. You have Slasher still being able to sit in the back with either the Krig or the QBZ. And you have Temp just kind of moving around, able to flex between both. I think Temp's going to run the 74U. I think LA Thieves is going to be one of those teams that are going to run 3 subs and 1 AR now. Before, we've been kind of seeing 2 and 2. Even on the bigger maps, I feel like they're only going to run 1 AR. I think the meta, because of this meta change and the way New York Subliners play, I feel like this actually favors LA Thieves. If this meta change would not have happened, I would have picked New York. But because of it, I'm saying LA Thieves in a 3-1. I think they're going to lose the Search and Destroy, but they're going to win because of the aggressiveness in their slaying power, in the all the respawns. I think this is going to be 3-1 LA Thieves.
I think those are all super good bullet points there. I feel like the other issue here is, I very heavily favored Subliners in the first major, and I thought they performed very well. They definitely... They secured a 3rd place. Looking at this schedule, though, their first matchup is against FaZe. FaZe is just going to stomp super hard. Like, I still have that matchup, FaZe Subliners 3-1. Mm-hmm. I really feel like Clayster is going to kick this team in the butt after that loss. I completely agree with you. I think that LA Thieves they have the potential to perform better, especially with the changes to the meta. But I actually have this series going 3-2 for New York Subliners because when you mess with an angry Clayster, he kicks that team into shape. And even though this is going to be a close series, and this really isn't a testament to LA Thieves, I just feel like Subliners, they're going to have so much more to prove going into that game, especially for coming from FaZe to LA Thieves. Like, they're facing 2 of the most iconic brands in the league right now.
Yeah.
And they have to make a statement against one of them. And it's not going to be FaZe.
I think you almost persuaded me the other way, but I'm going to stick to my guns because I do feel like if this was the first match of the weekend, LA would have this no problem.
100%.
But
I would agree.
With the points that you just brought up, I kind of really didn't think about it, but a fired up Clayster does get the team pretty hot. And I do think they're going to put up a fight. I'm still going to say 3-1 just because I have a lot of pride in me. Here is your current score for our picks. I have 17, August 22. We didn't go up after the major because we both had horrendous pick'ems. But honestly, who didn't?
That's true.
Honestly, who didn't? So just to go over this one more time, we both have Atlanta winning. We're split on Florida, Seattle. We both have Thieves winning against Toronto. We're split on Paris, Minnesota. We have the 3-0 Chicago. You have 3-1. We're split on Florida, Minnesota. We're split on. Oh, never mind. We're not split on Dallas, Seattle. We're split on London, LAG. Atlanta is going to 3-0 Toronto, possibly 3-1. And then we're split on here. So we're actually split a lot. I think this is about half of the matches you and I actually kind of disagree on. So I'm super excited to see how that goes. Do you have any upcoming events you want to shout out this weekend? Obviously, go watch the CDL. We have our Halo event coming this Sunday. We're going to be streaming it on YouTube as well. You guys go to lftg.com/events. Join our Halo Discord for all that beautiful information there. It's our Q3 qualifier 3 for our 1K event starting at 10 a.m. Pacific time.
There is one specific event, just actually more of promotion for like sign up for anybody out there. There is a Overwatch event that's coming up. It's kind of moved dates a couple times. It was actually supposed to be scheduled for not this upcoming weekend, but next weekend. But due to conflicts that kind of changed, it's the Will English Invitational. Will is a gentleman I work with. He does a bunch of broadcasts. We did the Windjammers 2 event together. Mm-hmm. He does a lot in the fighting game community, but also too, he's a huge Overwatch head, and he basically kind of spans the whole spectrum of esports events, and really, really talented individual. He's hosted his own Overwatch events before, and this one's looking to be even bigger. He messaged me earlier because I want to work behind the scenes and help him with the event. The new dates are April 8th through 11th. So if you know somebody that plays Overwatch or you play Overwatch yourself, if you can get a full team together, registration is still open. It's looking to be a really, really, really big event. And it's more community focused and kind of just more as like a fun way to like get together and play the game than it is like a very serious, like, oh, this is like we got to play Overwatch. We got to prove ourselves, or one of us are going to go pro for the Overwatch League. No, this is a fun way just to get together. It's a community ran event. You guys should definitely check it out. You guys can follow Will. It's at Will English IV for the 4th on Twitter. He's got all the information there. And then, or you guys could message me if you guys want more info, but it's shaping up to be a really cool event. I think there's over 20. I think last I checked, there were like 26 teams.
Oh, nice.
Competing. Like it's going to be a big event. That's so again, that's April 8th through 11th. Follow on Twitter for more details. But yeah, if you guys definitely check it out. I'll remind everybody in the coming weeks, but if you want to sign up and compete, now's the time, especially with the dates being moved again.
For sure. Yeah, I'm super excited for everything happening this weekend. Like I said, between Will English's event, the CDL, and then obviously the LFTG Invitational that's going on right now. I'm super hyped. We had a really good show tonight, episode 25. Episode 25, man, we're getting up there. We're almost in the 30s.
We're trucking right along. Before you know it, it's going to be a full year. Going to be a full year of episodes.
I don't want a full year. I mean, I'm excited for have a full year of episodes because I love doing this show. But I don't want to think about a year. One final piece of news. You guys have seen, I am not wearing my Seattle Surge hat. I am wearing my Seattle Surge shirt, but they have announced April 16th in Lumen Field. We have the Seattle Sounders playing Minnesota FC. I hate Minnesota FC. Just kidding. We had a really good semifinal against the last time. We had the 3 goals in 30 minutes in the semifinal to get to the final to get 3-0, but it's okay. I'm super excited for our Sounder season to start. Gives me a little bit something traditional sports to talk about on the show for a brief second, but it's that time of night. Wait, I gotta do this. I this again.
Do you feel after talking with Andy, you're more jazzed to play some Halo later?
Tonight?
Well, I'm just saying in general. I'm just saying, like, when was the last time you jumped on Halo? Just to play.
It's been a while.
It's been a few weeks with me. It's been a few weeks for me as well.
It's been probably a year. Probably more than a year. Yeah, probably over a year. Now I'm thinking about it.
Wow.
But we're going to go ahead and wind up this beautiful, beautiful DMCA free music so YouTube doesn't take down our audio. And we just want to say thank you guys so much for, especially you, Drew, my sweet, sweet Drew. I want to hold you and make sure your head is held up high and your legs are curled. You're in the nice little fetal position, and I can carry you through this beautiful, beautiful LFTG podcast stream. Now on YouTube and not Twitch. I just want to say thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being you. And I also want to give a quick shout out to Andy for coming on the show, and me forgetting to introduce Mohawk Mike in the beginning of the show. I introduced Andy, I didn't introduce you, and I was like, and then all of a sudden Andy started talking. I was like, oh shit.
People are used to me though. People are used to me being on this show. I do want to say though. So Drew, who you're mentioning in chat, Drew McCarthy. Actually, Andy shouted him out earlier. He also used to work with us at Millennial Esports. He's done a lot in the scenes. He also works with Blasphemous HD. Would love to get him on an episode in the future as well to talk about his experiences as well, because he's got some horror stories as well that we could dive into. Oh man.
Also, shout out to my sister Nicole. She says she's gonna listen to this in the morning. You stupid boomer, keep playing your mobile games.
Play Golden Tee.
Play Golden Tee. If you're gonna play any mobile, play Golden Tee. Yeah, do something. Jeez, not Candy Crush, you weirdo. But so thank you again, and I am your host, Refresh, and sitting next to me, always kinda, but not really, we have
Mohawk Mike. Excited for another episode in the books. We made the jump to YouTube. We'll see how it pans out. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
This auto uploads to YouTube and we're done. Woo! Technologic. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks, YouTube.